What is up, guys? I am starting to build out my lineups for week 2 of the NFL season and want to show you some of the results that I'm getting to with the helps of the different tools and data we have over at Stokastic.com. In particular, our simulation tool already built out 10,000 lineups, simulated them out as well. So wanted to show you some of the results. If you could do me a favor, if you're watching this on YouTube, Twitter, wherever it might be, like the post, like the video, and also follow, subscribe. It does help a whole bunch out, and it's only going to take you a couple of seconds and you get more free content that helps you build out good lineups, make some money. Just do me a favor, follow and subscribe. And if you want to sign up for the football package that we have at Stokastic.com, there's a link included below. Our football package includes everything: player projections, ownership projections, tools like the top stacks tool, our showdown game plays tool, all of that is included. And then you also get the contest generator, the sim tool, all under one NFL package. Link below if you're looking to sign up. Now let's get to the lineups. And right away, I'll favorite my top 150, and that is going to be lineups that have the highest projected ROI. My overall number one ROI projected lineup here, it is a Patrick Mahomes stack with Travis Kelce, just a single stack. As far as the rest of the lineup, have another tight end in there, Adam Troutman, who is expected to be one of the better tight end values on the slate, with Greg Dulcich unlikely to play. Rest of the lineup, David Montgomery and Rachaad White at running back. Wide receivers, Jamar Chase, Chris Godwin, Josh Reynolds, and the Raiders defense in here. I don't presume I'm going to be getting too much of the Raiders defense, but they did end up in my highest projected lineup here. As far as the stack that is popping up most frequently amongst my top projected lineups, it's different iterations of the Bengals and Joe Burrow lineups. Now, last week, Joe Burrow, no good, very bad. Ended up with, 82, 83 passing yards. He looked terrible. The Bengals offense was out of sorts. If you remember last week, though, we kind of saw something similar out of Joe Burrow in week 1. And there is some similar narrative to that as well. Because last year, what happened in training camp, Joe Burrow ends up having surgery, needs to have an appendectomy done, and maybe wasn't totally 100% healthy for week 1. Also, might not have had all the rust worked off of him. This year, week 1, he suffers a calf injury in the preseason. We don't see him play a whole bunch in practicing in training camp with the team. And there was some doubt whether he would be ready to play for week 1. He ends up playing and looked a little rusty. So last week, he ends up doing basically nothing on the stat sheet. Last year, week 1, he threw 4 interceptions. I like Joe Burrow to bounce back. Nothing that I see too concerning. And a handful of quarterbacks that didn't have the best stat lines in week 1, I think should fare better in week 2. Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, Joe Burrow amongst those stud quarterbacks that I'm expecting a bounce back from. And let's see what it's looking like as far as our exposures go, starting by looking at the stack exposures. Quarterbacks I'm getting to the most in single stack lineups, Patrick Mahomes, 12%. Not a whole lot of my lineups that are the top projected ones were single stacks, but of the ones that were primarily Patrick Mahomes, followed by Josh Allen at 6%. But where I'm getting to a little bit more, or I should say the bulk of my lineup build exposure is with the double stacks here. 20% of my double stack lineups include Josh Allen, 12% of them Joe Burrow. And if you look at the top stacks tool that we have over at Stokastic.com, the 3 teams that we've projected to be the highest scoring stacks on the slate, it is the Chiefs, it is the Bills, and it's the Bengals. So not all that surprising that these are the quarterbacks that ended up getting to most predominantly. And then some triple stacks as well, but nothing too crazy. Some Josh Allens in here, some Joe Burrows. Let's look at the individual player exposures, where I'm getting to a ton of David Montgomery now. Nearly 3/4 of my lineups contain David Montgomery. He's expected to be fairly-ish popular on the slate, 14.3% projected own. But yeah, showing up in a ton of my lineups. David Montgomery projecting is one of the best plays on the slate for us. And then simming as somebody who's well under-owned as well. Wide receivers, getting to a bunch of Deebo Samuel, followed by Stephon Diggs. And the Diggs is going to correlate nicely with all the Josh Allen that I'm getting to. Talked about Adam Troutman. Tight end, Dulcich not expected to play. Troutman's going to step in at a really, really, really cheap price point. So if you're going to go cheap at tight end, Troutman looks like the guy. If you're going to pay up, Travis Kelce, the one who's popping up most often for me. And just based on what the Chiefs' passing game looked like in week 1, Sky Moore, not getting open, not catching passes. Kadarius Toney, dropping anything within a 5-foot radius of him. I really do expect we're going to see a massive target share for Travis Kelce, like him a whole bunch as a pay-up option in week 2. Other running backs we're getting to, Rachaad White and Christian McCaffrey. So these are the 3 running backs I consider my core plays at the position. One thing that's really nice about it is just opportunity. particularly for Rachaad White and Christian McCaffrey. They're the only two running backs in week one that played 100% of their team snaps. Both of them are in line for really big workloads going forward. So McCaffrey and then also Rachaad White. I think these are two running backs we're going to want to be targeting in week two. So well overweight to the field on both of them. As far as wide receivers, we've got the Debo, we've got Stephon Diggs, we've got Chris Godwin. For the Bengals stacks, both Tyler Boyd and Jamar Chase. And then we got the Rams receivers, Tutu Atwell and Puka Nacua. I actually came fairly close to winning the Millie Maker in week one. My best lineup finished 50th, if I remember correctly. But there was a point in time where Stafford, late in the game, had a chance to hit Nacua deep downfield. If he would have caught that, it would have briefly been in first in the Millie Maker. All that aside, Nacua is going to be fairly popular as a cheap play at wide receiver. $4,900 is his price point off the top of my head. Field is getting there. Not really all that different from the field. We got him projected for 17% ownership. I have him in 18% of my lineup. So pretty neutral to the field as far as Nacua goes. But I am overweight to the field on Atwell, who's only projected for 6% ownership. Let's see, I'm coming in underweight to the field too here. Players that I am underweight to. One of them here is Saquon Barkley, followed by Calvin Ridley, Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen. So Barkley on paper does have a good matchup against the Arizona Cardinals, but there are a lot of running backs that are projected fairly well on this slate. And one thing that is a little bit of concern with Barkley in the matchup against the Cardinals, the total in that game is only 40 points. So not expected to have a lot of scoring, not expected a whole lot of production. So coming in underweight to the field on Barkley. Ridley as well. Ridley looked great in week one, but he's a pay-up option now. And instead, I'm prioritizing guys like Stephon Diggs and Jamar Chase as spend-up wide receivers. And, can't always play everybody. Josh Jacobs, Keenan Allen, Javonte Williams, rounding out the other players that I'm underweight to in my initial build of lineups. And by the way, in terms of the payout structure that I set to figure out the top ROIs for these lineups, I have it set to 25% to first place because the Millie Maker on DK for week two is a $4 million prize pool with $1 million to first place. So that's why I selected 25%. Guys, thank you very much for watching. If you've not done it, do me a favor, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. If you want to sign up for our NFL package, click on the link below and you can sign up right through there. Good luck with all your lineups in week two. See you back here next week.